plans go out the window once you get punched in the face.
It's true.
So imagine a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. That's 87 trillion punches in the face. So that's 87 trillion different ways that things could go awry here. U.S. added 209,000 jobs in June, missing expectations for 230. So pretty close to what they're expecting. It's about 9% difference here. The unemployment rate fell 3.6% versus 3.7% in May, and against expectations for the 3.7 as well. U.S. added 209,000 jobs, slightly missing the 230 and down from the downwardly revised 300,000 in May. According to a monthly employment report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, May's job gain was originally reported as 339K. So they lied in May, and then they walked away, and then they're hoping that you forget it because it's a sunny day. The news comes about 24 hours after the ADP's blowout jobs report for June. 497,000 jobs were added versus 220,000 expected. Sent interest rates sharply higher and Bitcoin tumbling about $1,000 or more than 3%. While there's plenty of economic data still to come in July, today's release marks the last national employment report before the Fed Reserve's late July interest rate policy meeting. Prior to this latest data, markets were pricing in a near certainty of the central bank resuming rate hikes at the meeting. They've been raising. They paused 1 month, and now people are saying, no, they're not going to stay paused. They're going to keep jacking these things up. I don't know. What you have any thoughts on that? I tend to just go by the prediction markets.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this is they're going to raise another one at least in July. So far, CME futures are not predicting a second raise, but that could change. What I do think is curious, and I want to see more of, is we talk about this over in Investing Bros almost daily. After a year and a half of Jerome Powell being very adamant that he needs to wait for data and he doesn't want to talk about future rate hikes whatsoever, why all of a sudden is he giving us the next 2-year plan? Because he's literally told us 2 more rate hikes this year and then 2 years for a cut. For the first time in a year and a half, he's giving us future predictions. Why? It's very weird that he changed his tune on giving these futuristic thoughts, and I can't help but think that there's something. I can't help but think somebody's telling him, hey, you really need to FUD the markets right now and convince people to be scared about what the future looks like.
Yeah, quite potentially. And, BlackRock, I don't know. The economy is so psychologically driven. It's interesting to think, why would he want to FUD it? Why would he want to make it worse than it appears? Because, that is a negative feedback loop that could just, become more worse, I guess, over time. U.S. military is training AI to give orders and handle state secrets. How close is AI to making decisions on the battlefield? I say it's actually already making some decisions. U.S. Air Force colonel says tests have been highly successful so far. Do we really think no AI is in any kind of decision-making process? Do we really think that? Do you really think that AI isn't already? Now, you zoom out where it's like, do I shoot this target? Yes or no? We're not at that phase yet, but do you not think there's things that are saying this is a drone or this is a bird, and they use AI to determine, and then they, have an action sequence based off that data? They're already using AI. This is just this is the cat on the roof. That's all this is. Cat on the roof here.
I wonder what these other tests were, though, because I remember the story we read that one day about the tests of
which wasn't even real. That was a hypothetical scenario that then, the headlines ran with. All right, let's see here. Let's dive into it. All right, the Department of Defense is conducting live tests in an attempt to leverage generative AI in its decision-making process, according to a report by Bloomberg. They're already doing it, folks. Just remember that. They're already doing it. It was highly successful. It was very fast. It's like my first time. The U.S. Air Force Colonel Matthew Meyer told Bloomberg, "We are learning that this is possible for us to do." Military testers say the exercises the military is putting AI large language models through include responses to a range of global crises, like a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. This is what could happen to XRP holder if Ripple loses to the SEC. After a legal battle, holders anxiously await the outcome and ponder the potential consequences. Deaton recently shed light on what might be at stake for investors if Ripple fails to secure victory. According to the attorney, if they lose the suit against the SEC, the holders could be, the ramifications are going to be significant and long lasting. He predicts that in such a scenario, there would be no immediate financial resolution. Instead, a lengthy process of appeals is expected, which could stretch over a period of 2 to 5 years. You're going to have short-term pain, and then you're going to have pumps as it Supreme Court's going to look at it, and then, it'll just go all over again. Furthermore, even if the holders prevail in a separate civil case against Ripple, their chances of obtaining compensation would be jeopardized. Should Ripple exhaust all avenues of appeal and ultimately lose, the SEC would be entitled to collect the funds, estimated around $1.3 billion there. So, yeah, if they lose, it's going to go to appeals. If it goes to appeals, it probably go all the way to Supreme Court. And if it does that, it's going to take 2 years. So that's what's going to happen if you're an XRP holder and we lose. It's not end of the world. That's our next path to victory with an asterisk on it. It'd be a real victory. It'd be a real victory.